You're funny.
She says I'm funny.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Sometimes I do crack me up. That's for sure. So, there's some levels of stupidity I have reached. Absolutely, I crack me up. And you know what? Hey, why not? If you can't laugh at yourself, you might as well just crawl into a little hole and stay there.
Yes. Well, and it's kind of funny at Sunday in primary. I can't even remember how the conversation came up, but I don't know. I was laughing or something like that, and one of the little boys, he's about 7, and he asked the question like, "Why do you laugh?" And so I explained to him. I says, well, that just shows that you're happy. And, but I says, sometimes life is really hard that we need to have a positive outlook and laugh. And because sometimes when things are just so rough, you need to laugh just to bring that up. And so I was leading singing time. And so then at that point, our action song to get us moving, we decided to do If You're Happy and You Know It. And so then it was, if you're happy and you know it, laugh out loud. And I got them all laughing and everything else like that. And it's just, there's so much going on out there that is so negative. And if you're familiar with what happened over the weekend with that, and that tragedy that we had here in Vancouver in the Filipino community, it's really
been rocked.
It has, and just whether you're Filipino or not, it just the whole horror, because it could have been anybody.
Absolutely.
And so you have to laugh. You have to take those moments.
Yes.
You have to find those times where you're going to laugh, to smile, and at yourself, you hit your knee because
right.
On the exact same corner of the table where you've done it 400 times before, instead of getting angry, laugh, going, well, at least I'm consistent, and find that positive and find that humor, because otherwise it's just...
I totally agree with you there. You find the humor, you find the beauty, you find the good, and because it's there.
Yeah, and when all else fails, just watch some of our weekly doses. And, even if you don't necessarily find the humor, you can sit there and going, at least I'm not as insane as those two. So, there's some positives.
So, absolutely, because, we can get a little crazy. It comes from the leader, so
yes,
comes down. So he's not here, so I can.
Yeah, but the thing is, if he was, he would have joined in. He'd agree with you. So,
absolutely.
Yes.
So okay, so announcements this week. We don't have some very interesting things actually. I didn't know where I was going to go there. Obviously, last night was not a good sleep night, so bear with me, folks. Embroidery thread. We are discussing embroidery threads today, so
we got that. But it's still on 50% off. So if you haven't stocked up, you got to. So I've been buying it for a bit, and I figured I had a good chunk of all of them. And so what I took and did is I went through on my list and I wrote it down, put it in a spreadsheet there.
Yep.
And then I went online and I listed all the ones that they had. Like I got all the numbers, and I figured out of them, I'd have probably like 80%. Because every time I buy some, I go home, I already have this one. And so I figured, I just really goof things up really bad. Even when I have a list, I still end up buying ones I already have.
Yes.
I only have half. Now I have a little bit more than half because I did go shopping. I only have half the colors. So I have a lot of room still to look.
So do I.
At 50% off, I can get 2 for 1. So I can fill it up.
Yeah.
And it's when you're doing embroidery, and you're going to see a little bit here why it's important to have a lot of those different things and different colors for like shading and stuff. And we're going to talk about that. So stock up. You will use them.
Yes. I currently have 101 pools.
I think I have 160.
These are not counting ones that I don't know what the number is anymore, because it wasn't I didn't write it down on the.
Do what
this
I do.
little-
Bring them home. Bring them in, and then you can look up.
Kind of match them up.
Yeah.
I'm not real good at that.
I'll help you.
My colors are a little off sometimes, but I'm going to get more because one of the projects that Lori's going to show, I am going to make. So, and there are a lot of colors in there that I would not normally purchase. I'm sure just about anybody who knows me knows
They're not
blue.
monotone.
They're not. I don't buy blues. So I'm going to have to in order to do this one.
You're gonna have to buy a lot of blues.
But I really want one of these that she's going to show you today. So I'm going to have to get some more colors. Maybe have to get the color chart from the woman so that I can make sure I can do it. But they're on for 50% off. Just that's a long way of getting around to that.
Stock up.
Yes, absolutely. You're going to use them. The spools are huge. They last a long time. So
It depends on what you're doing. I've gone through quite a few of them.
Yeah, this is true. Then when I get to them, it's like, oh, is it gonna last? Is it gonna last? But and the quartz fabric is still on. There isn't a huge amount left, but it is such a unique looking fabric. It is discontinued, but it's on for 40% off. And just as a heads up, will not be a sit and sew here in Surrey on next Monday. The classroom will be used for a training. So there no sit and sew on Monday, just this coming Monday. So just to let everybody know.
Yeah. So getting it out of the way with some of the classes because we've got a few of them. We've got cake therapy tomorrow here.
Yes.
Well, technically it's today when this post.
Yes, is what.
So on Wednesday, let's do it this way. So now that we've confused everybody, on Wednesday, the 30th, there is cake therapy here in Surrey in the afternoon. It's with Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're not into quilting, just come because it's great entertainment.
It's fun. Yeah.
I have my border quilting for Kimberbell on the Saturday.
Yes.
So this one is if you've got an embroidery machine and you really want to get into doing the really cute fancy borders, come. We're going to do a lot of practice so you can really take and understand and be able to do those borders well and get them straight. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a little bit of room in the afternoon class. So
and one space in the morning.
One space in the morning, room in the afternoon. Come, enjoy. Deborah's coming in the afternoon, so she's going to be heckling me.
So if you ever wanted to meet us in person and know if this was real.
Yeah, it is. In the afternoon, I have you and Pat.
Yes. Wow.
Oh, heavens. Someone with sanity, please come. Please save me.
No.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be a crazy class. We have our Embroideries Basics class. That starts May 6th. It is a 4-part class. There's one space left in this one, and then we also have it running in July. So what it is we're going to be doing a project in each one. We're going to start with the very, very basics right at the beginning. So if you're new to embroidery, you're going to get a good start. If you've kind of new or haven't done it for a while, this is a great class for you. We're going to talk blanks. We're going to talk stabilizers and a whole bunch of things. It's going to be a lot of fun. So sign up for that. Really get to know your machine.
And the Spring Clean series starts May the 6th. There's still spaces. It is Annie has a very unique approach to sorting and organizing and dealing with, let's face it, the clutter that we all create with any hobby, but particularly if you're sewing. She doesn't have any. Yeah, right. I've seen her space. You also did cards. What's
scrapbooking and card making.
And card making. So like she has a couple of habits so that
I have many habits.
yes, and like I sew and I embroider, so I have two distinct separate areas, and they both need help. So there's just no two ways about it. I am not when I sew, I am extremely messy. There's no other word for it. I throw things. I just like when scraps go to the floor, and I have a basket for my thread. I have a bag for the scraps. I have a box for other things. And it's just
It ends up wherever.
instinct. Yes, it does. So help is needed, and if it wasn't during the week, I'd be in there. So, but hey,
You're
you know,
still going to sneak in there probably.
or I can pick Annie's brain
Yeah.
at some other
Okay.
point in time.
So Sit and Sew, it returns in Surrey on May 12th.
Yes.
Okay, and then out in Chilliwack. So we have a Sit and Sew on May 8th, the 1st and 8th. We also have a free motion quilting
I
class.
forgot to put the day down with it. It's well.
Yeah, so she'll check that. But
Yeah.
it's the beginning of June, I think it is. Was it
I
not?
think so. Yeah.
So it's with Tom, and so if you have wanted to take a free motion quilting class, this one is a really good one because it's not so much about the motion, it's about the mechanics. So making sure your machine is working for you instead of against you. And it really is a good class to take before you start taking a bunch of other free motion classes.
Tom's approach is really makes you think about it differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it makes everything else make a lot more sense.
June the 3rd. It's
June
in
3rd.
Chilliwack. Yeah.
So you want to get in on that. And then there's like the Serger classes, April 30th, May 2nd,
No, May 7th. That's
7th.
level 1, 2.
level
That's
2,
what it
yeah,
means,
May 7th. And then,
The petite stitched purse.
okay.
It's very cute. It's very cute. May the 10th.
And then Bargello on May the 2nd. So they've got the free classes out there. So come, sign up, enjoy, meet some new friends,
Yeah.
make some old friends,
Yeah, exactly.
all that kind of fun stuff.
It's all the classes are not just a learning opportunity, but it's a social. Like I know myself, if I didn't come to work here and take classes, my social, because my inclination is I go home, I stay there.
Yeah.
So if I didn't come to work and I wasn't taking classes, my social activity would be very small. And it's important that we get out and socialize and act silly sometimes. And
Sometimes we do a lot.
that's right. Well, hey,
But you know
that's
what?
part of it. That's part of it, right?
Keeps
So
you young.
get yourself out there, get into some of these classes, have some fun.
Now, there's a lot more classes listed on the website,
Oh,
so
of
definitely
course.
get on there and see what's coming up. We've got lots more added. We're really looking at filling up the summer and the fall.
Yes.
I got way too many classes for the fall.
I'm even thinking of it. I have
Yeah.
3 percolating. I don't know where people find the time.
We don't.
So to even plan the class. So anyway, so
All right, so today what we're going to take and do is we're going to talk embroidery, or we're going to talk threads in relation to embroidery. Simply, it's a question I get asked so much about, like, well, what thread would you use? What thread do you use? You know, like, do I have to use embroidery thread? Can I use this? Can I use that? So what we're going to take and do is I want to kind of give you a very basic idea on why you want to use embroidery thread and when you wouldn't want to use embroidery thread. And so I guess the biggest thing to start off with is understanding the difference between embroidery thread and your regular cotton thread.
yes.
Okay, so embroidery thread is it's usually polyester or rayon. And they make it to a point where it's nice and shiny. So I don't know if you can really see it. And so you get a really nice shine off of that. And the reason you kind of want that is when you're doing the different things, the embroidery pops. You don't get that with cotton. Not the same way. Like I don't think you guys are really going to be able to see it well on the camera, but so this is the insert that I did for the basket. So you can see here, there's a little bit of shading. We've got some other ones, but there's a shine to it, and it just kind of really pops and draws your eye to it. When you use cotton thread, so I did the exact same thing with cotton, and it's a lot more mute. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean you can't use cotton thread. It really depends on what your end result is, because I was showing this to my daughter last night, and she was comparing the two, and she says, well, this one, she says, it's got a nice shine to it, and it pop.
Oh, no, it's not. Sorry, it's me.
Standing on her head. So it's got a nice shine to it, and she says, but she also liked this one. She says because it was more muted, and it just, so it depends on what your end look is.
Right.
Okay. So can you use cotton thread for doing the stuff like this? Yes, you can. There's nothing stopping you. You're just going to get a very different look. And so things you're going to have to watch out for, like you can't see the difference in the shading here. Okay, so if it's something that has shading, you're going to have to use a
bigger jump
in the
range.
Range to see the shading, because it won't stand out as much. Couple reasons. One, the light doesn't pick it up as much and highlight the different colors, and then the other, cotton thread is thicker. Yes. And so it doesn't have the chance to blend as easily. And so it kind of overlaps a lot more. And so those kind of things, so like maybe see it in the sun. See, the sun here has a bigger jump in the shade so that you can get that shading. The other thing is, because the cotton thread is a lot thicker, it has a harder time doing lettering, especially thinner lettering. It's more clumpy. The other thing is you have to be mindful of when you're working with cotton thread is it's fuzzy.
As opposed to the smooth texture of the rayon.
And when your machine is going really fast, it picks up a lot of those little fuzzes. Yeah. And it creates more dust bunnies, or in this case when I did this, dust giants. And so they were like, I had cleaned out my machine. Remember when we talked with Dana about like the dust? Yeah. So I had cleaned out my machine before. I had just done this. It wasn't even an hour of stitching. And I had I got the thing, and I had like dust bunnies coming out of my thing like this big. It was hard, and I had to clean machine. But it's just,
none of us like doing that.
No. But I also had to watch, because the machine would pull them up. Yeah. And the thread would pull them up, and then I'm trying
back up.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to catch them so that they're not getting sewn into. I mean, yes, Pooh is fuzzy, but he was going to be fuzzy with some green stuff, and so he would have been moldy.
Poor Pooh.
Poor Pooh. Yes. So there's some different challenges with working with cotton thread when you're doing strictly embroidery. Some other places that you would notice. So you got to see some of these. So these are tile theme quilts. I'll hold up
this is the one I want to do.
This is, she wants to do it. Yeah. I'm realizing that's probably not the best thing as I'm showing the butt.
You're showing the butt here.
But the thing is, that's really where you really can see the shading.
Yes.
On that. That's why I'm going, here, have a look at the butt. But you really see the shading, and even in the white, in the ruffles of the.
It looks like you're looking at a painting.
Yes.
So there.
Dropping a hint, we have a tile scene coming up in the fall. Yes. Or late summer, early fall. That's going to be, it's called Sea of Tranquility. It's at Thomas Kid. Oh, it's beautiful. But here's another one. And so we can maybe hold this one up so you can see. This is one we did a little bit ago. But do you see how I would hate to have done this in cotton? It would have been more muted, but the amount of fuzz I would have been fighting.
Yeah,
but
you'd be constantly cleaning out the machine.
Just the difference. And this really is where embroidery thread matters.
Yes.
Is getting that texture, getting that shine, getting that whatever. So that's why you want to use embroidery threads. Okay. This is why I have a lot of embroidery thread.
Lovely, lovely.
It is. It's gorgeous. I don't know if you guys can see it. So there's another type of thread that you would want that we have that you can use, and it is metallic. So in the water there is an iridescent.
Ooh, yes.
To give it that look. You won't get that with cotton.
No, you won't.
That's for sure.
No.
Another example of metallic is in here, and all the stars.
Yeah.
So you really want to kind of look at the project that you're doing and see what is going to do what's best. A lot now with embroidery, we're getting into doing background quilting. Okay. So which would you use? Embroidery thread or cotton thread? Well, what do you use when you quilt your quilt? You usually use a cotton. So when you're doing background quilting in embroidery, go ahead and use cotton. Unless you want those stitches to stand out, because with embroidery thread, there is a sheen to it. It will catch the light and it will stand out. So the cotton thread will more blend in. So what is your end desire? Do you want that quilting to stand out? I mean, some of these quiltings are with the embroidery machine in the background. They're gorgeous. And so sometimes they really add to the design.
Yeah.
So you want them to be seen. So then you'll use an embroidery thread to make them pop. If it's something you don't, if you really want the focus to be on the actual embroidery or block and the embroidery on it, not the quilting, then you use a cotton so it blends in. So you really do need to ask yourself questions. The other thing is if you're not doing something like that, if you're doing like a in the hoop project.
Yes.
So this is paper piecing, and then you're adding the zipper and all that kind of stuff. Well, why don't you use polyester thread in your quilting? Because it's stronger and it can than the cotton, and it can rip the seam, yada yada yada. There's a whole bunch of other things with that. So you use cotton because then go ahead and use cotton in this. This is all stitching.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
It's no different than stitching this on an embroidery machine or a sewing machine.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? So you wouldn't sit there and say, oh, well, I'm going to use embroidery thread to stitch together this project. You wouldn't do that. So if you're doing an all in the hoop project, go ahead and use your cotton thread. Then you get, I mean, this I use a lot. And so it's going to go through a lot of
work.
Yeah. A lot of work. So do I want it to stick together and hold together better and not get those little holes and everything else like that from using the wrong thread? No, that's why I use cotton thread. Yeah. So that's kind of a little bit. Here's another example. I brought these two. These are technically pretty close to the same color, but you can see it gives you a good idea of the shiny and the mute.
Put a paper behind it. Would that help? I don't know.
I don't know.
If that's helping or not. Probably for you to be able to see it.
But you can see like the visual difference in the colors. Like, so this is like nice and shiny, and this is just very dull.
But it's basically the same color.
It's basically the same color. So when I get asked, what thread do you use? I will ask right back, what are you planning on doing? If it's straight embroidery with all those kind of things, use your embroidery thread. And 95% of the time, you are going to be using embroidery thread. It really is your best choice for embroidery. The exceptions would be background quilting. Do you want it to be seen or do you not want it to be seen? Right? I mean, and it's still gonna be seen, but just the emphasis, right, where you want that. Are you doing an in the hoop project where there is no embroidery on it? I mean, you can always switch out and do embroidery thread on those things, but are you doing it in the hoop project? Do you want it to be able to stand up to a lot of wear and tear? Then use your cotton. Even with some of the tile scenes, like Macy said, she really liked this one because it was more muted and just more toned down.
It works for her. Yeah.
And it worked for her. So depending on what your end project is going to be.
And your taste.
And your taste.
Yeah. Everybody.
Everybody is different. So there really is no right or wrong answer anymore. Embroidery threads have come a long way from what they used to be. The quality is there. I was talking to Tom, and like it used to just be used polyester, but now there's rayon in there, and so. And then you've got so many different brands. I mean, like we've got the diamond ones. These are the ones that are on sale.
Yes.
Like, what is it? $4.95? No, for something.
$4.48.
Something like that.
$4.48.
Under $5 for a watt, right? So like a watt.
I think is it 1,500 meters or 15,000? I don't know.
I know we can get a ruler and measure it.
You go right ahead.
But you get a ton of them for under $5. And then we have like this one is Metler. And then we also have the Madeira. So, I mean, we carry those ones. I mean, I know that there's OESD has stuff, and Sweet Pea has theirs, and like there's so many different ones out there. Quality wise, I know everyone says there's, like they're dead set. Oh, I only use Metler. I only use, OESD or whatever. Quality wise, they are great across the board. I mean, I've been using this since day one, and I've not had any problems.
Me too.
Now you get the odd spool that kind of has a wonky,
2,000 meters.
2,000 meters. Okay. You get the odd spool that'll be kind of wonky, and just because of bad storage,
or it got wound.
Wrong
Bear
or
in
whatever.
mind, embroidery thread is very slippery.
It is.
So when you store it, I use amazing tape.
I
wrap that around and put it in there so that, because otherwise
it unravels.
It only took me one time to unravel half a spool of thread because it got a knot and it's just coming off in bunches. You learn that lesson real quick.
So that Wonder Tape just loves it, tickety boo. Thanks for reminding me, because I'm out of it. Because I bought a whole bunch of new spools and I'm out of Wonder Tape, so I have to get some more. Thank you for reminding me.
Wrap it around there and store them away. And I bought some golf tees. Boy, they've changed over the years. Golf tees are now like about yay long. I'm going to glue them into the drawers and stick the spools on top of that so that they're, it's one of my attempts at sorting.
I have mine on a Billy bookcase from IKEA, and I have them they go in rows of 5, and so when I get them, the number's here, and then I write the number on the inside.
Yes.
And I also write on the top in 2 places. So I've got the number. And I had them kind of a little bit in color section, but now I've got so many. So now I'm trying to do them in numerical order for the most part. And I'm finding it's working better because I'm seeing the shades different. And so where I had kind of all my greens kind of together or whatever, well, first of all, I found out that I had several repeats because there was some colors that were blue or could be green, and I had them in both. And so just depending on those undertones now, and so the undertones tend to stand out better when I've done them by number, and so the greens that have more of a blue undertone are standing out, and the greens with the yellow undertones are standing out a little bit better. And so so I'm able to match things a whole heck of a lot better because I can see.
Cool. Yes. Anything that helps us.
But so I had 2 shelves, now I have 3.5.
Yeah, I'm going to move into the second drawer now. So and like it's an IKEA drawer. So
it's huge. So there's a lot of different ways of storing thread, but couple of things when storing thread. Make sure you don't have it in direct sunlight. That is pretty much a killer for thread because it just deteriorates it so much faster. If you can't avoid having like light in there, because front of our stores where we have ours, and so if you notice that our blinds are always closed, it's not because we don't want anyone to think we're open, it's because the thread's there and we are protecting the threads. So keep the blinds closed. there so that it's not direct sunlight. If you have to, maybe put a sheer curtain over top of the bookcase or something like that so that they are somewhat protected.
It's not just fabric fades.
Yeah.
Thread
the
will
UV
fade.
light.
So
if you can filter out that UV light, so it's not so much light, it is the UV rays that and then it it shortens its shelf life and everything else.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you have any questions, you definitely can throw those into the comments. You can catch me at the store or whatever. But yeah, embroidery thread, don't overthink it.
No, it's fun. Again,
don't overthink it, but just know what your project is going to be.
Yeah.
Do you want it to pop? Do you not want it to pop? Is it an embroidery project? Or like in the hoop project? Or is it an actual true to form embroidery design, like, where it's all threads and everything else like that?
Yeah, that are going to, in my case, the Santa, he's going to hang in my patio door.
So it really depends.
Probably not this year.
Like I said, threads have come a long way, and the projects that we do have come a long way, and so there is no one right answer anymore.
Yeah. No. And the whole object, have fun.
Have fun. And if you like it at the end of the day, that's all that matters.
Yeah, right. No one else gets a say.
Nope. It's all about you and your enjoyment.
Yes, absolutely.
You can be selfish. All right.
Yes. Okay, that brings us to the end today.
It does. And I think it's supposed to be sunnier today, which is nice. We're supposed to get back warm again this week. Yay.
I'm quite comfortable with the weather right now. Well, you know me. I don't like the heat.
I went to the garden store yesterday. Screwed that one up. I blame Carrie because she said, go to the vegetable place. So I went to the vegetable place right across the street from a garden place. So I went to the garden place. I did buy vegetables, though.
Oh, well, that's good.
We're gonna
garden place.
Yeah, we're going to try and grow.
Oh, I see. Okay.
We're going to grow pumpkins this year and watermelon.
Wow.
And cantaloupe.
Whoa.
My dad's favorite joke with cantaloupe? Cantaloupe tonight because my dad's home.
You need to tell that one to Tom.
I should!
He would no, because then I'll hear it again. So let's maybe not. I no longer buy plants because where I live, the squirrels have taken over. And you might not know this, but there's only so many times you can repot pansies before they just say, you know what, lady, we're dead. So I don't have anything anymore. And it's their fault. Rodents.
We have in our backyard in the corner, we've put string lights for lighting back there. And within a few months, a few weeks, it looks like someone has cut them. And so my husband thought it was the neighbors. And I'm like, and then so we would put up it higher up so you can't reach it and it's still getting cut and stuff like that. And I looked at him and I looked at the thing. I says, this isn't the neighbors doing this. I says, they're either the squirrels or the rats or whatever are getting up there. They're chewing it. It's not chewing. I said, the wire is like so thin you wouldn't be able to see a chew mark. I says, so apparently the wildlife didn't appreciate our yard being lit up. And so as soon as we put the lights up, they chew the wire and take it back down.
Maybe there's some rodents or something out there having secret little rendezvous with somebody else's partner.
Apparently, our backyard seems to be the whatever. So, but now Luna has run to the backyard a little bit more, and so downside is when she wakes me up at 2:00 in the morning to go to the bathroom, she just doesn't stay in the dog run. She now runs the yard. It's like, no, it's not playtime, it's sleeper time. She goes, well, we're having fun.
There you go.
So
that's our life in a nutshell today. Okay.
Not life, that's what it is. Have a great week. Go
Yeah.
enjoy the sun. If you like the rain, go enjoy it right now before it disappears. And we will catch you next week. I think
Next
it's
week?
Tech Talk next week, is it not?
I do believe so. I sent
We'll-
out the reminder yesterday.
We only have a
so
few more of those before schools, and then we don't really get.
we
much
won't be
during the
having
summer.
any tech talks until come September. So
All right.
do clue in for those ones.
Excuse me. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.